I think we've officially slippery sloped our way into a world I never wanted to be in. It's a world that boxing has been living in since the fallout of the Ali Act, and it really didn't affect us up until a few years ago. But now, today, this morning, it really, really does, because Francis Ngannou just put it on Tyson Fury in a boxing match. The best heavyweight boxer in the world just got beaten up by a less than amateur boxer. He was literally making his debut fight in boxing. And in that fight, the most significant thing that happened was that knockdown. A knockdown where, if this was a real fight, in MMA, the closest thing that we have to simulated freehand death matches, Francis would have jumped on Tyson and ended it in a heartbeat. And he would have done it using just boxing to put him on the ground. So now, in terms of fighting, Francis Ngannou has the best hands on the planet. Well, Jon Jones is a heavyweight, and technically, as of the time of making this video, he's an injured heavyweight, and therefore he's inactive. The man he was going to face, Stipe Miocic, is an old man, and I believe he has been retired and is going to stay retired for the rest of his career. And on top of that, Francis Ngannou has already clearly beaten Stipe. And stepping up to the plate to fill in their new spot are two new era heavyweights ready to go: Sergey Pavlovich and Tom Aspinall. Sergey Pavlovich has terrifying KO power and has knocked out 6 men all in the first round. He actually has the stopping power that it requires to put Francis Ngannou on his ass, right? Tom Aspinall has the movement of Cyril Gane, but he knows takedowns, he knows ground game, he knows jiu-jitsu, he can grapple. And when it comes to the grappling side of Francis, we know what we know. We know how well he can stuff a takedown because of that first fight against Stipe. Sorry, that second fight against Stipe. And we know that he has great top pressure. We saw that in his fight against Cyril Gane. And this is the point of all this. Francis Ngannou, he could be the best pound for pound fighter in the world right now. Think about that. He's just proven that he knows great boxing. We know that he has takedown defense. We know that he has top pressure. He might be the best pound for pound fighter in the world right now, and it's so annoying because we are never going to know because of these damn contract negotiations and different organizations. They have now gotten into our world of MMA, and when it's all said and done, I think we're going to have to point the finger of blame at Dana White. The Francis Ngannou experiment has played out. We have to admit, it's the UFC. They're the ones that have fumbled the bag. It could have been another Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor moment. We put Francis Ngannou out on loan and have him come back. Either way you look at this, now in the UFC, you've still got an interim title fight happening. If Francis was on loan, we would have had to have had an interim title fight. So that's happening now anyway. When this interim title fight is all said and done, you're going to have one winner. And after that, an old, injured drug cheat of a champion is sitting out, and he's going to come back. So if you were the UFC right now in 2023, would you rather have your champion, Francis Ngannou, sitting out on loan to boxing, or your champion, Jon Jones, injured drug cheat, sitting out for God knows how long? Would have been better to have the man that just pieced up Tyson Fury sitting out and still has a UFC branded logo t-shirt on when he goes to the media tomorrow. Really happy for Francis. I'm really happy for Francis. I did not think the Francis Ngannou experiment would have gone his way. Good on him. But as a fan, I am so annoyed. It's just sad now. We were in the golden age where you knew who the man was. You knew who the baddest man on the planet was. But now boxing and PFL, I think they have the world's baddest man, and the UFC might have the second. But until either Aspinall or Pavlovich face Francis Ngannou, we're never going to know. Whose grappling is better? Will Francis Ngannou's top-heavy pressure work against Tom Aspinall? Would it work against Jon Jones? When Francis Ngannou was in that wrestling match fighting Cyril Gane, he had bad knees doing that. Now his knees would have had time to heal. I know the knee joint never properly heals, but he certainly would have had time to strengthen them. He'd be in far better shape now than he was back then in that Cyril Gane fight. So he can do wrestling with bad knees. Plus, he's significantly heavier than Aspinall and Jon Jones. It would have been amazing to see how that fight would have played out. When it comes for these MMA challenges, you're not really going to see the best heavyweight MMA contenders over at the PFL. They don't really have any proper MMA names. As Francis's boxing career continues on, it's going to be good to see him go up against other boxers, but because of that ridiculous knockdown rule and not being able to chase people onto the ground, you'll never really know how it goes in a proper fight. Most fights end up on the ground. That's what makes MMA the best sport. You get to see all aspects of the fight game, and we are never going to see that now because, as Dana White famously said, we're never doing business with Francis Ngannou again. And I don't even think now, if the UFC turned around and were on their hands and knees begging Francis to come back, I don't know if Francis would want to. The amount of drama and hell that the UFC put that man through leading into this fight to become the baddest man on the planet, why would he want to go back? Would you want to go back to a boss that treated you that way? I don't think so. Free agency is now here. I'm really, really happy for Francis Ngannou. I'm really sad for us, the fans. This win was a massive win for Francis, but it was a huge loss to us. Leave it down in the comments. Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones. Who wins that fight? Who do you think the baddest man on the planet is? Francis Ngannou versus Sergey Pavlovich. Who wins that fight? It'll be super interesting to see how Tom Aspinall's jiu-jitsu and ground game goes against Pavlovich. Once we have that answer, then we'll really be able to stack this up properly and know who the baddest man in the planet at the moment is. But you guys let me know down in the comments. Is it Jon Jones? Is it Francis Ngannou? Is it Pavlovich? Is it Tom Aspinall? This is the mess that we're in, and we're not going to get the answers, and that sucks. If you guys have been enjoying these videos, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button down there. I'll see you all in the next one.